Okay, Raymond Giudice, I'm going to go to you on that one. Unleash Your Lawyers. Sue Moss, New York. Raymond Giudice, Atlanta. Dwayne Cates, L.A. But before you answer that question, Giudice, I want you to see this video. Roll it, Liz. We have obtained raw footage of the groom. He's walking toward his wife's grave with bolt cutters, and he's yanking up flowers at her grave and throwing them away. You're seeing video from the Townsville Bulletin, but before we get to tearing the flowers off her grave, let's go to the perky breasts, Ray Giudice. At the funeral, at the viewing of her dead, stiff body, this is his bride, he's laughing at the coffin about a life insurance policy and about her perky breast. Weigh in, Ray.
Well, if I had advised him, I would tell him don't say stupid comments. Make sure you're appropriately sympathetic and caring amongst the family and friends. However, people say and do ridiculously stupid things under enormous stress. And if this is an accidental death, or in his defense, an act of cowardice for failure to save his wife, which I think at best case it is, then he was under enormous stress.
But I'd like to see Raymond's face when he says something like that. I don't, there he is. Okay, I believe you used the words ridiculously stupid and enormous stress. FYI, Ray, under the water, nobody has any weight whatsoever. You're buoyant. Sue Moss, he claims she was too heavy to bring up to the surface. You're weightless underwater.
Absolutely. He's a rescue diver and he couldn't revive her. There's witnesses that his arms were around her. Well, that's easy enough. Not only do you have your own mouthpiece, but every diver has an extra mouthpiece for their buddy. Just take that mouthpiece and shove it in her mouth. This guy was trained to survive divers who were in peril. And what did he do? He let his wife fall to the bottom of the ocean. I've heard the 7-year itch, but this is crazy.
Kate. Weigh in.
Well, Nancy, I'll tell you what. The thing is that when a person panics, you're trained even as a rescue diver. If somebody's panicking, that you got to save yourself. And if she panicked and if she knocked his mask off, he's got to kick away from her. He's got to clear his mask. And when he cleared his mask, he looked down and there she was. You know,
okay, Case, have you ever dived before?
Went to the surface.
Have you ever dived before?
I am a certified diver, absolutely.
Okay, well, Mr. Cates, don't even try with me because I'm a certified diver as well. To Michael Gast, what Case just said, knowingly said, is completely the opposite of the truth because what you do, having your mask taken off of you is not an emergency underwater. Is it, Michael Gast? And isn't it true that what he should have done is simply take her spider, take her extra breathing apparatus and put it in her hand and let her breathe through that, or even yet buddy breathe. In other words, go up to the surface, you take a breath, I take a breath, you take a breath, I take a breath. Even novice divers have to learn to buddy breathe, don't they, Michael?
Yes, all divers learn to do that. They learn to use their extra regulator. But also, the first thing you do with any rescue circumstance is you remove the weight belt. Get the weight off the victim so that you can get them to the surface.
Okay, so all this is going on immediately in the days following his wife's death. Unleash Your Lawyers, Sue Moss, Ray Giudice, Dwayne Cates. You know, Sue Moss, I hardly know which is more probative, him cutting up the flowers off his wife's grave. Let's see that video, Liz. Or what we were just describing, graphic letters from the new woman, soon to be his wife. What about it, Sue?
Absolutely. I just hope this second wife doesn't even have a bathtub because this guy just can't be trusted. With this first wife, I mean, she didn't have a prayer if this guy shut off the air and then bear hugged her. Could you imagine what those last moments must have been like when your fiancé is killing you?
Ray Giudice, what Is there any way, everybody, you're seeing video from the Townsville Bulletin, is there any way to stop this from coming in at trial?
Yeah, you use the key legal word, probative, relevant evidence, long after the death, unless there's some way that they can trace his relationship with this second wife that precedes the death of the first wife to show some mysterious love triangle. I don't think it comes into evidence.
Well, Dwayne Cates, obviously it would go to frame of mind, motive, intent, course of conduct. Obviously, it goes to what he was thinking at the time of her death. And by the way, there is evidence that the equipment was working, but she just wasn't breathing. It had been somehow untapped. Weigh in, Cates.
Well, from what I understand, the theory is that he shut her air off and then he turned her air back on. The problem with that is there's not one person that testifies that they saw his hands on the air valve. Number two, your expert's right about all the rescue things. The problem is nobody's dealt with the fact that what you do when you're dealing with somebody that's panicking and combative, and that changes the whole rescue scenario.
Really? Because Ellie Jostad, what the eyewitnesses say is not that she was fighting him. Describe the bear hug evidence, Ellie Jostad.
Right, Nancy. Well, this is a little bit of a sticking point here because the defense's witness, or actually on cross, the state's witness said that he saw him holding her, but he did stop short. Actually, Dwayne Cates is right. He did stop short of saying he saw him manipulating the air valve. So it's unclear how the state's going to get that in at this point.
We're showing you a reenactment right now. Let's go back to the reenactment that we were just showing, Liz. This is what the witness saw. They saw the new groom come up to the bride and fiddle with her air tank there on the back. What about it, T.J. Ward? What does that say to you?
Well, that right there shows some evidence that something did happen, and of course the mere fact that that he's changed his story several times in interviews. So this is going to play a key part.
Another important fact raised by T.J. Ward, the fact that he changes his story in police questioning. Quick break.